Today's tutorial is based on a simple report that is required for the SEA examination. However, today's report would be based on a standard 3 level report. Now, in many schools, standard 3 teachers actually attempt to introduce report writing to students, which is a good concept in trying to get them prepared for the examination. And they introduce the report writing with a 3-paragraph report. So normally a report would be either 4 or 5 paragraphs depending on the content, the style of writing, the student, etc. But today's report would be a simple report for a standard 3 student. So we will deal with mainly the basic elements that are required so that students will start practicing the basic elements of the report before going on to a more advanced report writing. Now, today's question: write a simple report on an incident which occurred in your school's playground which resulted in a standard 1 student being injured. Now, normally teachers start off with simple reports that are directed around the incident report. Now, we also have accident reports and we also have event reports as well. But the incident report is a classic way of actually introducing students into the whole aspect of report writing. And also to try to locate the report based on an incident that happened in the school in a familiar environment for students. Right, so this report would be based on a incident which occurred in your school's playground which resulted in a standard 1 student being injured. Your report should be factual, to the point, not use descriptive language, and have a formal tone. Now, there are many other things that could be stated in report writing pertaining to the rules, etc. But because it is for standard 3 students, we don't want to overwhelm them with information. We just want to present them with the basic information that they need to go forward. So if we look at the answer, I have attempted to highlight some of the main things that they would need to have, again with an attempt not to overwhelm them. Okay, now I'm going to read through it and then do a little bit of discussion and comparison between this and what we call story writing, because we refer to the proper name would be narrative essays, but again we are dealing with standard 3 students. So your answer should be: on Monday, 5th March 2020 at approximately 12 noon, an incident occurred on the playground at the Rio Claro Government School located at Naparima Mayara Road, Rio Claro. The incident involved 2 students, James Harry of the Standard 4 class and Sterling Campos of the Standard 1 class. This incident was due to bullying and resulted in Campos suffering an injury to the face. Now we will go back to the beginning of this first paragraph and look at the important elements of the first paragraph. Now, the first thing that was highlighted was the date. You must have a proper date, a full date for the date of the incident. So it would not be a day like just on Monday or what have you. It will be a date. So there's a difference between a day of the week and a date. So a proper date should be stated. Monday, 5th March 2020. You can create any date that you need to. It doesn't have to be an actual date that something had happened. It doesn't have to be the present date that you are. Once you have the proper element that the examiner would be looking for, that is the most important thing. At approximately 12 noon. So there is an exact time or an approximate time for which the incident had occurred. Now, in story writing, we would say that it happened at noon or it happened at night time, etc. Okay, so that is the difference between story writing and report writing. In report writing, we actually use a time, 12 noon. An incident occurred on the playground. Now, this is very important to note that a lot of students, when they write reports in school, some students neglect to write the place in the school where the incident is actually occurring. So we are trying, if it occurred in the playground, or if it occurred in a particular classroom, or was it a play field instead, or a cafeteria, etc., you need to highlight exactly where it happened. At the Rio Claro Government School, that aspect was highlighted as well. Rio Claro Government School. So you want to write the full name of the school. Okay, so whatever is the name of your school or a school that you can actually simulate, meaning make up a name, it should be a full name. I also had included here, located at Naparima Mayaro Road, Rio Claro. And I would encourage students to try to include some sort of address as well in report writing, because it is confusing later on when they move on to more difficult or complex report writing, where they may have to report on a robbery in a store, or an incident at the mall, or an accident in a particular street, a vehicular accident, and then they neglect to write the address because they never actually practice writing address in report writing. So we are moving on. The incident involved 2 students. Another important element of your first paragraph is that you need to write the names of the people who are involved, who were involved. And you just don't write James, and you don't just write Sterling. That would have been for a story. For the report writing, you need to have full name of the individuals, a full name, meaning a first name and a surname, and you need to write it as proper nouns. Okay, so in the first paragraph, I want you to also notice that not just the names of the students were in proper nouns, but the names of the school, the dates, etc. The things that are supposed to be in proper nouns are written in proper nouns. Okay, and we must also pay attention to punctuations, okay, commas, full stops, etc. All right. One other thing that I like to see in report writing in your first paragraph, because our first paragraph is supposed to be an introduction to what is to come, and I'm going to repeat that, an introduction as to what is to come. I think it is that it would make sense to actually put what was the result. This incident was due to bullying and resulted in campus suffering an injury to the face. Okay, so that was the first paragraph that we read and we analyzed. So as I said, the standard 3 report, we are just seeking to make sure that they write three paragraphs at this point in time. So we are moving on to the second paragraph. Now, one word that I highlighted there was firstly. I'm going to read through it and then we'll come back and go through some of the important aspects in this paragraph as well. Firstly, it was during the luncheon period that most of the students of the schools would participate in games at the school's playground. On this particular day, Sterling campus was partaking in a friendly game of police and thieves, during which he was a police and had to chase after other students of his class who were thieves in an attempt to capture them. It was during this time that Campos accidentally bumped into Harry, and with the speed and force, he was knocked off his balance. Harry soon retaliated by grabbing Campos by his collar and without pause to ask a question, swiftly punched him straight in his face. Now let us analyze the second paragraph. The second paragraph, which is the first paragraph in your body of your essay, would start with a transitional word such as firstly. So that is why I highlighted the word firstly. Okay. Now they stated again, it was stated again the time at which the incident occurred during the luncheon period. So we try to use a different tone in our writing. It should be more formal, okay, in terms of the a more serious approach, in terms of, and it should sound more factual, okay, that most of the students of the school would participate in games at the school's playground. On this particular day, Sterling Campos was partaken in a friendly game of police and thief. Now, why I highlighted a friendly game of police and thieves, it is because that you are supposed to explain what happened before or what led to the incident. So by saying what Campos was doing before the incident occurred would actually give reason to why or how the incident actually occurred. So a friendly game of police and thieves, and thereby, as we see proceeding, that it was some aspect of the game was actually described, during which he was a police and had to chase after the other students of his class who were thieves in an attempt to capture them. It was during this time that Campos accidentally bumped into Harry. So this was actually what occurred. So we highlighted what led to this aspect of Campos accidentally bumping into Harry. And with the speed and force, he was knocked off his balance. Harry soon retaliated by grabbing Campos by his collar and, without pause to ask a question, swiftly punched him straight in his face. We highlighted swiftly punch him straight in his face to show exactly this was the incident that actually happened. Okay, so we did before, right, and now this is during the incident. So then we will take a look at the last paragraph, which will be after or the result. Okay, so we have here as a result. So I'm going to read through the third paragraph, the last paragraph of the standard 3 report writing, and then we would take a look at the important aspects of it. As a result, the strength of the older student caused an instant nosebleed. This alerted the other students to seek assistance from the security guard, who was not far away from the incident. By this time, the school's principal, Mr. Mangru, who was usually strolling the schoolyard, was also made aware of the incident. Mr. Mangru and another teacher quickly aided Campos to the school's nurse and took Harry directly to the office to await the two students' parents, who were promptly called in. Mr. Mangru then called an emergency assembly in the afternoon, letting all students know that there would be serious consequences for bullying of students. So let us look back at how the third paragraph was dealt with. We had another transitional word as a result. Right, so this would lead to our last paragraph, which is supposed to be the outcome of the incident. The strength of the older student caused an instant nosebleed. We had how the students sought assistance from the security guard, which is normal that they seek assistance from somebody, either a teacher, a prefect, somebody would come to the assistance of students, okay, right? And then important aspect is the outcome. The two students' parents were promptly called in, and Mr. Mangru then called an emergency assembly. So this is a standard conclusion. Now we're going to look back from the top. Now what I tell students is that your report is supposed to be, of course, you have your introduction, here, as most students would, teachers, sorry, would tell students that your introduction should have your date, your time, your place, and who were involved. Some students actually memorize that after a time, and they make sure that they have it. Date, the time, the place, and who were involved. And okay, and I also add a brief outcome. Then your next paragraph should have what led to the incident. So what I call before the incident. So you should have before the incident. Now the standard 3 students would have combined the second and the third paragraph in one, meaning that you would have before the incident and during the incident. So this paragraph would have before and during. This is the second paragraph. Before and during the incident. So what led to the incident, and then the actual incident. Then the last paragraph would have after the incident, or what we call the outcome of the incident. So again, just to surmise, we have date, time, place, who were involved. Then we have what led to the incident, during the incident in the second paragraph. And the third paragraph would have the outcome of the incident. Okay, so this is basically a basic layout of a standard 3 report. Now it is important that standard 3 students start practicing report writing, so by the time they reach the standard 4, which is the class that attempts to cover the balance of the school curriculum in preparation for the SEA examination, they would already have a head start and have an idea as to how to write a basic report. So I hope that this will be of some assistance to you. Remember, you can always pause the video at any point in time so that you can actually use similar wording and the similar structure of the essay. So it doesn't mean that if you use similar wording, this is not something bad, or it is that you are cheating or anything. That you have to actually practice the proper format, the proper wording, and the proper language, etc., in order for you to actually be successful and learn to write your essay in the proper way.